Hi, it's Stephanie. Welcome back to my channel. So today I'm doing a story time. I filmed this like 3 weeks ago and it got deleted. So I was really pissed off about that. But so I'm refilming it now. Basically it's a story time of when like I attempted suicide. I'll do a trigger warning. It's like suicide ideation, self-harm and stuff like that. There's not much about my eating disorder, just like a little bit, but it's really like I don't talk about like hardly at all. I'll probably talk about it like for a second. Anyway, so this was 2014. So it was 4 years ago. It was actually October 29th, 2014. Pretty much like my life was like really shitty because family was homeless. So we were homeless for like 3 months. And we could either stay at a motel or we would sleep in the car if we didn't have money for the motel. And sleeping in the car was like horrible, especially when I was getting cold out. Like I know some people are like homeless for years and I like honestly have no idea how they are able or were able to do that. Well, I guess people can say I don't know how I could be homeless for 3 months, but 3 months compared to like a year or more, like some people, like it's just, I can't imagine that. Yeah, I don't know how people can do it for like years. Like that just like shouldn't even happen. Honestly, it's like so messed up, and sometimes kids are even homeless, but which is even more messed up in my opinion. But so basically what had happened was we were sleeping in the car, and then my mom and my brother got like sick or something, and so they had to like go to the hospital. And like, I mean, it's kind of messed up when you think of the circumstances. Like, it's understandable. We actually were hoping that like one of them would be admitted, just because like in the hospital you could have guests sleep over. So we were like actually hoping that they would be admitted, even though that sounds really weird. But they weren't, so we had to sleep in the car again. And I was like, I mean, I was kind of like, maybe this does make me sound like a spoiled brat, I don't know. But I was like, no, I'm not sleeping in the car again. I'll call somebody to see if I can spend the night at their house or whatever. And I had like no luck with that, considering the fact that I didn't even have that many friends. I have like 5 close friends, and that's enough for me. Yeah, so I tried to call people. They either didn't answer or like they couldn't for some reason. And it wasn't like my friends were being like selfish or assholes. Like it was just certain situations they were in. So that didn't work. And then because basically I didn't even have a cell phone. I was using actually the hospital cell phone. I asked the nurse if I could, and she let me. So I did that, and I was like, okay, now I have absolutely nowhere to go because I don't have a cell phone. My family, I don't know where they are. They drove away. They like drove from the hospital to wherever they were sleeping. So I was like, shit, I am like literally on the street, like literally. So I was like outside the hospital, and I've been suicidal before, and I was a little suicidal before this. This was honestly like completely an impulse decision. Like I didn't wake up that morning saying, oh, I'm gonna try to kill myself. It was literally like in the moment impulse. So I had my antidepressants. I had Seroquel. I was on Nafranil at the time, I was on Luvox and Neurontin, and I took all my medication that I had left. It wasn't like a completely full bottle, but it was like what I had left from like taking it and stuff. So I kind of like, it was raining too, so that sucked. I was like outside, like I already took medication, and then like I was like, shit, like what the fuck did I just do? So I went into the hospital and be like, yeah, and I told them what I did. So they put me in a wheelchair and like rushed me to the ER. And then like honestly, like everything's kind of like foggy at this point. I was like so scared they were gonna pump my stomach because I heard that like is really painful. So but they didn't do that for some reason. I don't know if it was because like the amount I took wasn't necessary because it wasn't a full bottle. So they did like put an IV in me and like gave me fluids. And I honestly don't know. I'm not a medical professional. And pretty much I was in the ER, and what happened was my like heart was like really unstable. My blood pressure was very, very low. It was like I never remember the bottom number, but it was like 69 or 70. And then my heart rate was really fast, which doesn't make too much sense to me. But yeah. Yeah, so my blood pressure was like very unstable. My heart rate was very unstable. So, yeah, so I was in the ER for like 8 hours. And like I said, everything's like extremely foggy when I was in the ER. I don't remember much. I do remember one of my friends coming to visit me. I pretty much, when I called him, I left him a message saying I was at the hospital and he was actually going to pick me up. And then when he went to the hospital, they were like, yeah, she's like in the ER. So he goes in, like, he visited me for like a couple minutes, but I was so freaking out of it. Like, I don't even remember what we talked about. But then they put a 302 in, which is when you're committed to a mental hospital against your will. They have to do that when someone attempts suicide. That's just protocol. So they did a 302, and then they go to the ICU. So I was there all night. Today they just stabilized my heart and stuff like that, and it stabilized and stuff. The next day is a little foggy as well. I talked to the psychiatrist, and he said that about the 302, and the thing that pissed me off was I said, I'll sign myself in if you cannot do the 302 so I can do it 201. And he said, he was telling me that I wasn't allowed to do that, which I said I'm willing, like, there's no point in me refusing to go because, first of all, I was in the hospital, so I'm going to be transferred by ambulance. And second of all, like, I can't, like, what's the point? I'd rather just sign myself in if I know I'm, like, going to be committed. And then I was put on a 1-to-1, and I was put on a 1-to-1 twice. A 1-to-1 basically means that you are not allowed to be by yourself at all, and someone has to be with you at all times. This includes when you use the bathroom and even showering. It, like, honestly sucks so much. I mean, like, it's kind of nice in a sense where you have someone to talk to, especially if you, like, have a really cool person that you get along with. But, so that's part's nice. Like, if you actually do feel unsafe, someone's there just in case. So, in that aspect, it's actually kind of good because you always have someone there. But, like, when you want to shower or, like, and they have to watch you, like, that's just weird. Like, I did get used to some things being in a mental hospital, but that's one thing that I did not get used to. Yeah, so 1-to-1s basically, like, suck really bad. But, so I was transferred from the ICU to, like, a regular room, and I was supposed to be discharged the next day. But what happened is I got really, really sick. And I don't know if it had to do with maybe, like, Seroquel withdrawal, or the doctor said that it could also be because my system's in shock. So I was, like, sick, throwing up for, like, a couple of days. So I was actually in the medical hospital for about, like, a week. I was only supposed to be there for, like, 3 or 4 days. But, yeah, that really sucked. And also, like, my eating disorder, like, I restricted and stuff, like, the entire time. But then again, I was also sick. So I don't know if it was actually, like, my eating disorder or the fact that I was literally sick. But yeah, so I got transferred to Horsham, which I've been at, like, a million times. I was able to do a 201, thank God. But yeah, so I was there for, like, 75 days, and I had to be put on a 1-to-1 there as well. Not right when I got in the middle of my stay, I kind of, like, was really struggling, so I was put on to 1-to-1. And then I was sent to Horsham. After I was discharged, I was able to stay out of treatment for 1.5 years. And, like, I know, like, my channel's really small and stuff, and, like, my parents even asked me, like, why do you even, like, do this? Like, I kind of just want to, like, shed light on the fact, like, mental illness is, like, a disease. It's just like any other disease, and just because it's not physical and you can't see it doesn't mean, like, the pain's not there, which is why I think one of the reasons why I started using eating disorder symptoms for self-harm, because you can actually see that you're struggling or you're in emotional pain. Whereas if you don't use those behaviors, no one really knows. And like the stigma and stuff like that, when people think, oh, just get over it, you're faking it. I never faked anything. And also, the fact that I took medication and went to treatment and actually got better, like, kind of proves that I wasn't faking it, because I changed because of the treatment. So, in a good way. Like, I didn't change like who I was, but like changing like impulse and behavior wise. But yeah, I get like messages on Instagram saying like, oh, your like video inspired me, especially the one with my story and all that stuff. So as long as I can keep getting that response, then I'm just gonna keep on doing it. So that's the end of my story time. So like and subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.